Secret societies have always existed wherever visible power encountered invisible resistance. In societies dominated by a religion or by a regime that did not tolerate different ideas, those who preserved ancient knowledge, rituals, or plans for change needed to protect themselves. It was a matter of survival. In medieval Europe, after the dissolution of the Templars, esoteric groups learned that in order to continue existing, they had to operate in the shadows. The Templars had invented the system of checks and paper money, controlling a large portion of Europe's wealth. The Church and the King of France saw this as too great a threat. In 1307, the Pope and King Philip the Fair arrested the leaders, tortured them, and executed Jacques de Molay. What remained of Templar knowledge migrated to Scotland and later fed the first speculative Masonic lodges. In the United States, since colonization, hegemonic Christianity repeated the same pattern. The Salem witches were not an isolated case. Any practice considered exoteric or outside the Christian standard was persecuted. For this reason, in elite universities, societies such as Skull and Bones emerged at Yale. Several American presidents passed through it, including both Bush's and John Kerry, who ran against each other in 2004. The existence of the group was known, but its rituals and objectives remained secret. It was a way of selecting and protecting an elite that shared values and networks of power. The CIA was born precisely within this environment. The film The Good Shepherd, directed by Robert De Niro and starring Matt Damon, shows, based on real events, how young members of Skull and Bones helped create what would become the American Intelligence Agency. The OSS, the predecessor of the CIA, recruited there because it needed people trained in secrecy, absolute loyalty, and initiations that tested limits. Initiation rituals, mud fights, symbolic humiliations, oaths of silence reinforced the commitment to keep everything closed. The same principle appears in Quinta da Regaleira in Sintra, Portugal, the initiation well, an inverted tower 27 meters deep with steps, Masonic symbols, and a Templar cross at the bottom. Those who descended entered darkness, faced their own fears, and emerged transformed. It was a rite of passage that echoed ancient traditions of symbolic death and rebirth. Freemasonry, the most well-known of all, carries this dual heritage. Operative, it was the actual craft of the stonemasons who built cathedrals. Speculative, it became a fraternity that uses construction as a metaphor for self-improvement. Its symbols, the square, the compass, the pentagram, the special handshake by degree, serve to identify who is inside. The handshake varies according to level. The 3 dots in a signature were a discrete sign among brothers. All of this comes from a line that, according to internal tradition, dates back to ancient Egypt and before that to a lost civilization, Atlantis. Francis Bacon, father of modern science and linked to the Rosicrucians, wrote The New Atlantis, describing an ideal society of knowledge where science and esotericism walked together. Many of the founding fathers of the United States were Freemasons. Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and others saw in the new nation the laboratory of this new Atlantis. Washington, D.C. was built like an open book for those who knew how to read it. The largest obelisk in the world, the Washington Monument, represents the phallus of Osiris in Egyptian mythology. The dome of the Capitol, the womb of Isis. Together, they symbolize the birth of Horus, the divine sun. The streets form a pentagram. The painting, The Apotheosis of Washington in the Capitol, shows the first president in a pose identical to that of Baphomet. On the back of the $1 bill, the Great Seal features the truncated pyramid with the all-seeing eye, a symbol of the star Sirius associated with Isis and rebirth.
The motto Novus Ordo Seclorum and the date 1776 at the base of the pyramid are no coincidence. It is the year of the founding of the Bavarian Illuminati by Adam Weishaupt, a former Jesuit who wanted to overthrow monarchies and create a republic of philosopher kings, an idea Plato had already outlined in The Republic. The Bavarian Illuminati were not the first. Before them, there were the Alumbrados in Spain, persecuted by the Inquisition. Ignatius of Loyola, founder of the Jesuits, was accused of sympathy with them. The Jesuits, in turn, acted as an almost secret order to contain Protestantism. They infiltrated, disguised themselves, and spied. When the Pope dissolved the order, part of this knowledge migrated to the Illuminati. The plan was clear: to replace the old regime with a republic inspired by reason and occult knowledge. The lightning that killed the messenger carrying documents, the mass arrests, and the escape of survivors to Italy and France are historical facts. Giuseppe Mazzini, considered the father of the Italian mafia, received part of this legacy. Manly Hall, one of the greatest Masonic scholars of the 20th century, wrote in The Secret Destiny of America that the United States was designed thousands of years ago to fulfill a grand plan: to become the stage of a republic governed by enlightened men. The symbols of the Capitol are not decoration. They are the esoteric message carved in stone. The country would be the womb where Horus, the divine son of the Egyptian tradition, would be reborn to inaugurate a new world order. For Christians, the same symbols could represent Christ. For the initiated, they represented the return of pagan knowledge. In the 20th century, Aleister Crowley carried this current forward with the doctrine of telema. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. His rituals of sex magic influenced the counterculture. Jack Parsons, co-founder of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, was a follower of Crowley's. In 1946, he and L.R. Hubbard performed the Babylon working in the California desert, a ritual to invoke the Scarlet Woman and open portals. Parsons built rockets by day and invoked entities at night. Hubbard later founded Scientology. The line between cutting-edge science, intelligence, and occultism had never been so thin. All of this forms a complete logic. Wherever there is concentrated power and ideas that challenge the status quo, groups emerge to protect knowledge. Some seek resistance against tyrannies, others seek to maintain control. Rituals, symbols, and oaths of silence serve to filter who enters and ensure loyalty. Religious persecution in Europe, the need for national security, the search for a republic of philosopher kings, the Egyptian heritage reinterpreted in Washington, all of it connects. It is not a loose theory. They are documented facts, books written by initiates, monuments that anyone can see, films based on real archives, and rituals that still take place. The history of secret societies is not about monsters or heroes. It's about men who, in times of oppression or ambition, chose to guard what they considered too dangerous or too powerful to be openly revealed. And over the centuries, these groups helped shape the world we know, sometimes for the better, sometimes to keep power in the same hands. The logic is simple. Secrecy exists because knowledge, when too open, can be used against those who hold it, and when hidden, it can be used to change the course of history.